What's the biggest, I guess, positive from having an offense that's running that high tempo for a defense like yours?
I think, well, two things. One, it forces you have to know your job. There's not enough time to look at the linebacker next to you or the safety next to you or anybody next to you and say, what's my job? So you find out as a coach and as a player, do you really know your job? And you think you might know it in the film room or through walkthroughs, but it's a lot different from the tempo. And then the second thing is probably just, it's hard to simulate, especially once we get into the season and some of the teams we're going to play are our tempo teams. It's hard to simulate that in scout teams. So we'll be well prepared for it going into the season.
I think, which teams were there off the top of your head that maybe similar tempo or at least?
North Carolina's one. Florida State, Coach Norvell, they'll be tempo. Those are two that, just off the top of my head.
Your defensive backs, there's some experience there. Linebacker not so much anymore.
Right, it's a lot different than last spring. It's a lot of fun, getting out here and being the linebacker coach, and we're starting from scratch. Outside of Zach McLeod, there is zero experience, out on the field right now. So it's been a lot of fun, and like I just alluded to, if you don't know your job, it's gonna get exposed very quickly. And then I think our DBs are doing a good job communicating back there.
That's fun to you as a coach.
Oh, I love it. That's what to me. Whenever being able to develop guys and watching them grow over the course. To me, that's one of the more rewarding things about this job.
When is it not? When does it turn into?
When they think they know it all.
So another byproduct of not having a guy like Shaq could be his new leadership has to come along.
Absolutely.
Across the whole defense, who have you seen take on that role?
I think Zach McLeod obviously is kind of a natural fit for that, but just the DBs in general, with all those guys coming back. When you talk about Gervin Hall, Amari Carter, Al Blades, DJ Ivy, a lot of those guys have played a lot of ball, so it's kind of cool. Like I said, it's a lot different than last spring and even last fall, where those guys are really been very loud and very supportive.
What has Jaelan Phillips shown with his movement and athleticism? I know they're not in pads yet.
He's a special dude. He is all of 6'6", probably 260 plus pounds, but the thing that's very impressive about him is how well he bends. He understands leverage. He does a great job getting under offensive tackles pads. And that's probably been, especially when you consider he hadn't played football in so long, that's one thing that kind of usually takes a little bit of time is leverage and pad level, but he's done a great job with it early on.
How long do you think it'll be before he's back in his real form because he has that out for so long?
Every guy's different. Obviously, it's a huge boost to get him here in the spring. Last year, and I'm just thinking of Trayvon Hill off the top of our head, where we didn't have him in the spring and was battling, an injury through fall camp, and it took him about 6 weeks. So I would assume probably by the end of spring, it ought to come back to him pretty quick.
Do you remember what weight he reported at? Because he looked pretty skinny when he first showed up.
I think he was 225. Now I think he's 264. I think so. Coach Feely and his staff and Jaelan have done a phenomenal job. He looks the part.
You understand a lot of linebackers out for spring.
Right.
Are you worried at all about that affecting them come the fall, or you think you're still going to be able to do enough, maybe watching film with you guys? Or?
Yeah, obviously you'd like them to be able to get out here and get reps. Or, I think we have 5, maybe 6 guys that we're missing right now. So, just experience. There's no substitute for experience. So we'd love to have them out here, but I do think they're doing a good job meeting on their own and putting in the extra work. But they're going to have to play catch-up, come fall camp. So, yeah, we'd love to have them out here, but it is what it is. We've got to move on.
We haven't seen Steed and Jennings in a while.
Right.
When do you think you'll finally get them?
I would think probably in fall camp. I don't think we'll probably see them all this spring.
I know it's still very early, but with Jaelan Phillips, are you envisioning if there's ways you can get him on the field, Rousseau, Roche, kind of similar to Garvin and Hill with Rousseau?
Yeah, I think there definitely could be a point in time where we make that lineup happen.
The spring's all about teaching, obviously. With the offense running plays so quickly, is it more of a challenge for you to say, here's how you have to think differently because you don't have time really to process?
I think there's the difference is now you're coaching off of film. There's no time, there's very little time in between plays to go up and say, hey, you have a gap, or hey, do this. So, the blessing in that is players don't know they've messed up and they're on to the next play. Where sometimes coach gets onto a kid and it lets it affect them for a couple plays. So that's kind of the blessing and the curse behind it. But I think it's a positive. I think it's a huge positive when you talk about you as a coach understand how well a kid understands it, because there is no time to teach it. Like I said, there's no time to ask your buddy. So they can know it in the film room, they can know it in a walkthrough, but if they can't know it at this tempo, they don't know it well enough, and we got to continue to develop those skills.
What does Avery Huff bring to the table as a linebacker?
Speed. He can run. He has a lot of natural instinct. Still a long ways to go when you talk about development. I think he's got to continue to get stronger. And this is really his first time. He got here late in fall camp, so he's really learning the defense for the first time. So he's got a long way to go, but he's a great athlete.
Coach, it seems like you're pretty pleased. You sound very positive. You sound like you're pretty pleased with what you've seen so far.
There's been some good and some bad. I wouldn't say we got a long way to go.
But
it's spring ball, and like I said, to me, we're having a lot of fun. There's a different energy, in my opinion, on both sides of the ball. I think it's kind of cool when you don't have quote unquote established players on defense and watching who's stepping up in a leadership role or who's stepping up with their play on the field. So it's like a new baby. It's exciting right now, and then you realize you got to change a bunch of diapers. So no, it's a lot of fun right now.
What strides have you seen from Christian Williams and Corey Couch, guys that were young corners last year and now have another good season?
I think both of them are doing some really good things. I think Christian has come a long way with his technique. I thought it probably took him a little bit longer last year to develop, maybe than to Corey, and then they kind of caught up to each other. And I think both of those guys are pushing Al and DJ every day. And one point emphasis this spring is the depth chart is very fluid, and it's going to change daily based off of production. So I think we've probably seen 3 or 4 starting corners in 3 days, which is a pretty cool deal. So I think both of those guys are pushing for a starting role, and I'm excited to see how the next 12 practices go.
Great. Thanks, everybody.